Throughout the year, I have been trying out quite a number of Rose Technics in-ear monitors or IEM. And since last year and especially this year, okay, I quite like many of them, okay, because I think Rose Technics present the kind of sound tuning which is easy for me to like. And for the first time, finally, I was able to try the flagship, the topmost model from Rose Technics here, marked in X, which is Rose Technics QTX. As mentioned earlier, this Rose Technics QTX is a flagship model, okay? And being a flagship, it also demands premium price. So how premium is premium? Let's just have a look here at Rose Technics official store in Amazon. The first time you look at it, probably kind of a bit confusing because there are several options being provided there. But in general, each of Rose Technics QTX will always come in a complete package. So what does it mean by complete package? Not only that you get the IEM itself, okay, the cable, accessories, ear tips and everything inside this box, and this carrying case here, you're also gonna get a dongle, a DAC amp included. So in the case of this value model, which is priced at 389, you're gonna get the smaller RZ300 dongle from Rose Technics. However, the one that I have in front of me here, pretty much similar in everything else, except that now it comes with this premium higher end dongle from Rose Technics, the latest one, which is the Rose Technics Rose Celsa, running on ESS Sabre 9039 Q2M. So not only that you get flagship IEM, you also get flagship dongle from them in that whole 519 US dollar package. Okay, so let's just have a closer look at what's inside. As noted earlier, of course, the IEM itself here, and you would notice it comes in this nice looking blue cable here. This is not a normal cable, okay? This is a premium cable, which is designated as Blue Rose Pro, okay? Which is constructed of monocrystalline OCC copper, comes terminated with this 4.4 mm balance. This is the one that I have, okay? And it also comes with two selection of ear tip, silicone and foam tips. But I would like to bring your attention, okay, especially to this very special looking foam tips by Rose Technics. I really love this, okay? If you look at it, it's kind of like really special because it's shallow and somewhat on the smaller side of things when compared to other foam tips. It is also constructed in a way that reminds me a lot to TWS type of foam tips. And I have been using this quite a lot. In fact, probably the only ear tip that I have been using with this QTX because I love it so much in terms of comfort and sound wise. Okay, now looking at the IEM itself closely, okay, as noted earlier, being a flagship, you can expect some impressive technology inside this thing. This QTX is a hybrid, okay, which comes with 6 balanced armature, okay, and 1 dynamic driver, Tesla dynamic driver, okay. So, despite having so many driver, I am quite impressed with the build and the construction of this QTX because that so many driver, somehow they managed to squeeze in without, sacrificing too much on the size itself. So ergonomically, you can expect excellent build for this QTX. The size is small enough. The nozzle is, very, I would say, ergonomically well designed to a point that, let me just show you, okay, how big and how comfortable it is. Wearing it is pretty much very simple. Because this is a foam tip, I'm just going to compress it like this, put it like this, okay, very simple. Done, okay, already attached with this chin slider here. And this cable itself, like I say, premium cable. Kind of a bit slim for a premium cable, but then again, it also means it is less intrusive, okay. So, the comfort factor for this QTX is just excellent, okay. And I would not hesitate to say that throughout the many IEM which I have tested this year or the last 2 years, this is without a doubt one of the most comfortable because of that ergonomic design and the size being on the smaller side of things. However, I must admit that when it comes to seal and isolation, okay, it does seal okay-ish, okay, but I would not say that the seal is good enough because I have used this in a public location. I have found that some of the noises or ambient sound kind of a bit intrusive. So there's a give and take there, but I can live with the comfort. Definitely one of the most comfortable IEM in the market nowadays. Let's talk about synergy factor. Let's talk about driving it first because it does come with this Rose Technics, Rose Celsa, as I noted earlier, a dedicated dongle. And in fact, I will have a separate review on this Rose Technics, Rose Celsa after this. Okay. Now, the combination of these two, when attached to this dongle using this 4.4 mm balance cable here, the sort of sound which I am getting from that combination is something which I would consider as being highly analytical, focus heavily on being technical. So you can be rest assured, okay, you're gonna get huge amount of details, macro and micro details, okay, superb layering and separation, articulation of imaging itself. The soundstage is wide as it is tall, and it is also very holographic. So if that is the kind of sound preference that you like, definitely I would highly recommend that use the two of them. But if you are like me, and admittedly, okay, I find that this QTX will run a bit better, at least in the perspective of my taste and preference, when I attach it to something which is a bit more organic, a bit more analog sounding. Something like this EPZ TP50 or even this Hebe FC6, okay? And I must say that when I attach it to something like this as well, okay, which is FIO M23 adapt, which I am testing and reviewing right now, which runs on AKM DAC chip. Okay, all three of them exhibit a bit more of balance towards being musical and analytical at the same time. So that is the kind of sound which I love. Less focus on being analytical, but a bit more on being musical. So what I am getting, especially when attached to this EPZ TP50 and this Hebe FC6 is an improvement of the sound density itself. Okay, the sound texture and everything becomes a bit more smoother, okay, especially when it comes to the age of the imaging, the resolution itself. And it is also a bit more flowing with the transient, less, edginess to the sound itself. But just remember this, as I mentioned earlier again, okay, it is also boils down to preference. Some people prefer it, highly analytical, hi-fi sort of sound presentation, then just simply switch to this raw salsa, or if you want a bit more of analog organic sound, okay, just switch to something like these two. If you're familiar with my YouTube channel, you have been watching my reviews and videos, then you would probably be familiar with me saying this repeatedly so many times. Well balanced. So what is well balanced? Ladies and gentlemen, let me just openly declare this. Rose Technics QTX is a prime example of well balanced, well-tuned IEM. Okay, so what does it mean by well balanced? To me, well balanced means that, being able to project the sound, being highly analytical, yet at the same time musical. It does not sacrifice one element in favor of the other, like some other IEM in the market nowadays, which you will find highly analytical but not so musical. Or some IEM just simply being musical, not analytical at all. But you're gonna get both of that in this QTX, okay? That is super impressive. And when we talk about the sound presentation itself, you can expect maturity from this QTX. And the reason that I am saying maturity because despite having so many drivers crammed inside, 7 to be precise, 1 Tesla DD and 6 Belen Amateur, this QTX was able to present, okay, the kind of sound which I consider as being very coherent. There's no disconnection of the sound frequency between those different drivers presenting different layer of sound frequency. It is flowing, smooth, harmonious from upper frequency, mid-range, all the way to the lowest frequency. Okay, so that is again another impressive thing about this QTX. And when we talk about the upper frequency, if you love treble, okay, if you love energetic and highly detailed treble, then rest assured that this QTX can deliver that, provided that you connect it to something which is analytical like this Rose Technics Rose Salsa, or even Shangling UA4, or even FIO KA17. But if you need something which is a bit more toned down, a bit more balanced towards being organic or analog sounding, then all you need to do, this QTX being highly versatile, just pair it with something like Hebe FC6 or even this EPZ TP50. In general, I would say that the upper frequency, the treble itself, does not exhibit any kind of pinna glare, which means that the region between upper mid-range all the way to the treble decays, there's no offensiveness to it. I am not hearing any kind of sibilance or peaky kind of metallic tint to the sound itself, which is super impressive. At the same time, I am hearing proper amount of macro and micro detail, and the decay itself offering quite a bit of amount of air and energy and sparkle to it. So again, I can totally enjoy the kind of treble presentation of this QTX. And when we move on to the mid-range, the mid-range is something which I would consider and classify as being super transparent, neutral, largely uncolored. And I say largely uncolored because I do feel that there's a hint of organic warmth to certain female vocal. For example, when I listen to low octave type, which is contralto, something like from Diana Krall or even Cine Egg, especially when listening to jazz. Okay, I am hearing the kind of sound which I would consider the vocal itself being transparent, yet natural and organic, and just a mild hint of warmth there, which is very pleasing. And when I listen to switch to something which is higher pitch, something like soprano from Alison Krauss, it is definitely peaky, piercing, but never offensive at the same time. And the same can be said for male vocal, especially baritone and tenor, okay, which is, chesty type of vocal. What you're getting is that something which is frontal, okay, engaging and immersive. Quite impressive for this QTX when it comes to vocal department. And the placement of the vocal itself, depending on how the recording is being mixed or recorded, it can be frontal, it can be slightly, placed back, especially when you listen to rock and metal music. And when it comes to instrument handling, you can be rest assured this QTX will offer the kind of speed, imaging, and resolution to properly, present especially string instrument like classical or philharmonic orchestra or even rock and metal, that it contains good amount of crispness without appearing edgy at all. So that is again another element which I really love. And then let's talk about the lower frequency. Now I would just simply openly declare, that this QTX may not be suitable for people who love big bass because, like I mentioned earlier, being very well balanced also means that the tuning for the lower frequency, just offering slight boost in the lower frequency itself in the bass region. So let's just have a look at the mid-range itself, or should I say the mid-bass. Okay, the mid-bass offer the kind of rumble, punch, and definition and texture which I would consider as very tactile. Okay, I can feel the mid-bass, the presence of the mid-bass itself, which is something which I really love because I listen a lot to rock and metal, which require very good presentation of mid-bass. And the sub-bass itself, it extends really deep. Okay, the way it disperses into the decay level, the lowest frequency of the lower frequency, okay, it is definitely smooth, engaging, and immersive. So all in all, again, the keyword here, the entire frequency range presentation is well balanced. I am repeating myself here over and over again. When it comes to technicality, rest assured that this is perhaps one of the very best in the market right now when it comes to presenting technical element, especially when it comes to resolution and imaging. Okay, with the way it presents the sound stage itself, it is wide and open, tall at the same time, and it is definitely very holographic to a point that it is suitable for binaural type of music or even gaming. I have already mentioned well balanced, okay, exceptional sound tuning, analytical and musical at the same time, exceptional comfort and wear factor, superb build, okay, everything that I love in a single IEM. So how does this QTX compare against the rest of the competition in ND order vault? So let's just join me here, have a look at this table, this spreadsheet for ND order vault. As you can see here, okay, I have already actually keyed in this rating for this QTX and marked it as mysterious IEM. And now I can openly declare, because this is real time, so I just place mysterious IEM there. Let me just put it here. that this materials IEM is in fact Rose Technics QTX. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. And let's just find out where does it stand. At the score of 78 out of 100, just gonna sort it out first from A to Z here, and then sort Z to A here, and there we have it. Okay, super impressive, right? It's practically sitting right after Kinera Imperial Loki, and then followed by T Audio Oracle, and then IO Volare. Okay, let's just talk about a bit more of the comparison between all these top performer. I sincerely believe that this QTX is an IM which clicks closest to my heart, clicks closer to my liking, the way it is being tuned. The overall package is just simply amazing. Okay, because if I were to compare it directly with another outstanding IM, which I have reviewed recently, IO Volare, I can draw comparison that between the two of them, they are pretty much similar in many ways, with an exception that I do feel that in several areas, okay, that this QTX does perform slightly better with the versatility of how it is, presenting the sound itself, the comfort, the overall experience is just simply slightly better than IO Volare. And of course, slightly better than Tanjim Origin, okay? Because, see, the thing is that I love mid-bass. I love lower frequency, which is kind of like hovering closer to neutral target. And between, okay, Volare and this QTX, I would just say that Volare does appear kind of a bit bassy for my taste, but this is slightly toned down to a point that it is close enough to being neutral. Not as neutral as Ethymotic ER2XR, which is my all-time reference, but it is definitely the kind of sound which I really love. And then, let's just draw comparison with my regular favorite, which is Sivga Nightingale. Now, Sivga Nightingale, which is the IM which I tend to use quite frequently, it is a bit more mid-centric, a lot more musical, less analytical. But if I were to compare between these two, Sivga Nightingale and this QTX, then I would say that, this QTX introduced that element of technicality into what's lacking on this Sivga Nightingale. But at the same time, it still retained the amount of musicality, which I really love, being smooth with the timbre itself. The presentation of the timbre is something which does not offend me. And you can have a look at this spreadsheet online now, available, okay? Feel free to look at the comparison of this QTX against the rest of the competition. I will admit, all right, this is definitely not an easy thing to achieve, scoring 78 out of 100, and thus it is being classified as being exceptional.